Today's question: what do a space probe to another planet and the second largest shark on this planet have in common?
Helicopter to search 1.
Search 1 to helicopter. Go ahead.
We have visual contact with the probe. Chute open.
Good. Well, Senator, we've got our space probe back from Neptune.
Depending on the relative positions of the two planets in space, a probe to Neptune, at the speeds our current spacecraft can travel, takes anywhere from 30 to 60 years one way. That means if this is happening in 2020 and we go with the furthest distance, this probe was launched in 1900. Obviously, we were much better at keeping the space program secret way back then. The guy without the mustache is Mr. Mills, who's heading up the probe recovery.
The chutes have torn loose. It's free falling.
Where is it?
What's its heading?
260 degrees, distance 7 miles.
Captain, this is Matthew Mills. Course 200 miles, 60 degrees.
I think Mr. Mills' job just got a lot more complicated. But it's even worse, a flotation collar that was supposed to keep it on the surface didn't deploy, so it sank. It has a homing beacon with a 5-mile range built into it, but either it's not working or it's further away than anybody thought because they're not picking up anything. Someone suggests that Sealab is nearby. Let's enlist their help.
Ed, hey!
What?
Hello in there, do you read me?
I was listening to the warning call of a grouper, and then you sounded off.
Was that Hal? I thought it was a grouper.
That's Henry. We'll see more of him a little later.
We're wanted in the conference room, but fast, Ed.
Trouble?
Could be.
It's something to do with that stranger who came on board.
He wants you to go see what that grouper's problem was.
You see, 20 months ago, Aerospace sent a probe to Neptune.
20 months? An average spacecraft that we put up there travels at about 17,000 miles per hour. To get to Neptune and back in that space of time, this probe had to travel at a little over 50,000 miles per hour, or about 840 miles a second, to make the round trip in that time. Even in the real 2020, we're not sure how to do that yet.
After all that time and expense, millions of the taxpayers' money, the probe slipped its parachute and dropped into the sea without a trace.
What a foreign power wouldn't give to have it.
Why? What can they do with it that would be so bad? Take away your bragging rights?
Aerospace sent divers down. They couldn't find it.
And you want us to locate it.
Right.
Probe was fitted with a homing device, so take a sound technician along.
How about Henry Lucas?
With your permission, Captain, we'll take Henry.
Henry's the best they have, so it's a good idea. Unfortunately, even his wizardry can't turn up any sign of the probe. Captain Murphy gives them permission to exit Deep Diver and search further. Mr. Mills has his own theory.
It's my suspicion that we weren't the only ones waiting for that probe to come back.
But nobody else was in position to retrieve it. You'd have seen them.
A submarine could have been cruising underwater nearby.
Impossible. The sonar room reports all ships in this area.
Maybe somebody heard one and didn't report it.
And why wouldn't they? Part of the job is to monitor and report everything that happens in the vicinity. So he's accusing someone of dereliction. But we're just getting started learning about Mr. Mills.
Let's take a peek at those coral shells. The probe could have... Hey!
What was that?
They didn't see it coming at them head on because the shark had active camouflage turned on.
Shark! A big one. It's circling back.
Gale, ready with the air gun. Shoot some bubbles at it.
Uh-oh, I dropped it.
You might have noticed that we didn't see any sign of those things before. That's because Batman loaned them some of his gear. Only problem is it's huge. Where's he gonna put it? Oh right, he just puts it through the miniaturizer and disappearinator on his belt.
Okay, Gale, I've got him. That confused him. Look at him go.
I've never had a reason to try that, so I don't know if it really works or not, and I have zero interest in finding out.
Oh, Ed, look, it's just a basking shark. Wouldn't hurt anybody.
It sure knocked me over.
Because you got in its way and it's not very good at sharp turns. Basking sharks are filter feeders. They don't eat meat, so there's no danger to humans unless you blunder into one like Ed did and get smacked by a stray tail or some such. I can see how it would be easy to do. They are the second largest shark out there, with an average adult length of 26 feet. As a rule, they don't move very fast, but if something that big hits you even at 2 miles an hour,
that's gonna leave a mark.
Our heroes will talk a lot about how playful they are, and from what I was able to find, they do show definite signs of play behavior. It mainly takes the form of chasing each other and breaching, that sort of thing. We're going to imply something beyond that here, even though we'll never come out and say it.
Let's move on, Hal.
My bubble gun.
Where is it?
On the bottom, I guess.
No, it isn't. It's caught in a jet stream.
It's slowly being carried away. I'll get it.
Careful, Gale.
Got it.
Good, let's go. I wonder about that current, Hal. Do you think?
Yes, that's exactly what I think.
It's the only thing that makes sense of the fact that they can't find the probe here. That current carried it off somewhere. Gale put herself in danger when she went into it to retrieve that thing. Ocean currents are not something with which to screw. We divers take them very seriously. The Pacific Northwest diving community lost a beloved member a few years ago. She and her husband were diving a rocky island out by the entrance to Puget Sound. Both were thoroughly experienced divers. The boat was right there by where they were. They took every precaution. Out of nowhere, a massive surge of current hit them, and she was gone. Snatched away in an instant, and she was never found. If that current is strong enough to carry the probe and her bubble gun away, Gale dodged a bullet. Mr. Mills is still looking for the boogeyman. He says, "Are you sure you didn't pick up any submarine sounds?" The tech on duty says, "Nope, nothing."
But at 3, we recorded some whales communicating with each other. Would you like to hear the recording?
Not just now.
Hey, you never know. They could have been talking about playing dodgeball with the new doohickey they found.
At 12:07, we picked up the engine of Search 1.
That checks.
Then we had a malfunction.
Malfunction at 12:07. The probe hit the water at exactly 12:10. Just what was the malfunction that happened at such an inopportune time?
Some connectors had come loose. I don't understand how that could have happened.
Who else was there?
I was alone, except
Yes, Mr. Lansing, except what?
Henry Lucas came in about 12, as a matter of fact. He helped me locate the malfunction.
Or possibly arranged it.
Mills is going to decide instantly that Henry is a spy of some kind and he sabotaged the stuff just as the probe came down, and I really don't know why Paul and the captain are tolerating it. They all know Henry. They don't know Mills, but he sure seems to be crazy.
I'd like to see his personnel file.
Why?
I'm going to have Aerospace run a check on him.
The files are confidential.
If you have such confidence in Lucas, why be afraid of a check?
I am not afraid, Mr. Mills.
I can't believe he fell for that. It's not about afraid, it's about privacy. What's in Henry's file is none of his bloomin' business, because his whole basis for suspecting Henry is he's here. But as goofy as it sounds, Paul will give him access to prove he's not afraid. Everybody here is 10 years old.
Find anything?
No, but...
Henry Lucas,
Yes, sir?
as an official of Aerospace, I'd like to ask you some questions.
About what?
For one thing, where were you during the 3 years between 2015 and 2018?
2015? Oh, just wandering around the continent. Sort of just taking life easy.
You were in an unfriendly country, Mr. Lucas. associating with some very peculiar people.
Henry swears by all that's holy that it's not true. Mills doesn't care. He has a printout. That's all he cares about. I ask everyone to do me a personal favor as we go along, and you see just what a vicious jerk this guy is. Please don't punch your screen. It'll just hurt your hand, and it won't do your ability to watch my videos much good either.
You can tell that to the inquiry.
Henry wouldn't lie, Mr. Mills.
The Bureau wants him on the surface immediately.
You can't have him immediately. It'll take him 2 days to decompress. He's been down too long.
And what authority does your Bureau have to compel him to go with you, Mills? I'm betting not much. He seems to think if another country gets hold of those samples of Neptune's atmosphere, it'll threaten national security. If I'm in Henry's place, I'm refusing to go anywhere with him until he explains how.
I know, Gale. I'm concerned, too. It's a bad situation. But the aerospace computers placed Henry in Asia. That's it.
It doesn't make sense, Captain Murphy.
Maybe the computers were wrong.
Computers have made errors before.
Computers don't make errors. Computer operators do. You know what a computer does? It shuffles numbers around in its memory. That's it. That is literally all your CPU does. You type a sentence in. Your keyboard converts the characters to numbers, sends them to the processor, and it shuffles the numbers around in memory. You look at a picture on the internet. Your modem or Wi-Fi connection receives the picture in the form of numbers, passes them to the processor, and the processor shuffles them around in memory. Again, that's all the computer does. It can't make mistakes because it follows directions. That's it. When the directions are wrong, we like to say the computer made a mistake. In fact, I like to joke with people at stores and such when they make a little goof and tell them, whenever possible, blame the computer. But the truth is, the computer that makes the actual mistakes is right here. Those mistakes get transmitted to the mechanical computer and shuffled into memory, and you get a false report on Henry Lucas. Now the question is, while he languishes in the decompression chamber, how do we get him out of this mess? Hal has an idea, and it starts with that jet stream current that they found.
If Mr. Mills will help.
Mr. Mills, help you?
I think it's silly. A lot of detail work for nothing.
If you have such confidence in Henry's guilt, why be afraid of letting us try our theory?
I'm drawing pictures for you, am I not?
Nice bit of turnabout, Paul. Mills needs to get it through his head that this is Sealab, not his agency, and he's not in charge here, so lose the attitude. The plan is to build a mock-up of the probe and drop it into that jet stream.
Can you duplicate that, Barry?
No problem, sir. How about the weight?
The whole thing weighed 25 pounds.
No wonder it washed away so easily. Without the parabolic antenna, Voyager 1 was only slightly bigger than a person, and even it weighed 1,800 pounds. His probe is basically a medicine ball.
The outside was gold-plated for easy radar pickup.
To say nothing of the fact that gold doesn't corrode like a lot of other metals do, so it's perfect for long-term shielding.
It should have been caught in the current by now.
No, what if we're wrong? What if the current isn't strong enough?
You can stop worrying right now.
They're experienced divers, so they'll know how to stay right on the edge of that current and let it carry them too, only they're under control.
Don't lose it!
This way, it's dropping.
Oh, look!
The basking shark.
Yeah, everybody's underwater puppy. It thinks it's got something to eat.
No, he doesn't. They don't eat. They sift the water for plankton. However, if he was ram-scooping plankton in the area and the current happened to bring that probe along and his mouth is really, really big, could it be that he accidentally...
I hear it. The signal's weak because it's shielded by the shark's body.
You and Gale herd it back to Sealab. I'll take Deep Diver back to base.
Today, basking sharks are on the endangered species list. Guess how concerned Mr. Mills is about that.
So the experiment paid off, Henry.
The team found it. I knew they would.
I want to apologize, young man.
Accepted. Thank you, sir. Where's Hal and the others?
But he should be back at Sealab any minute.
Thank you, Dr. Williams.
I'm sorry that boy was put through the ringer.
He'll be all right now.
I guess all this secret stuff can make a man super suspicious. You begin to see enemy agents in every closet.
I repeat, how are air samples from Neptune a threat to national security? What does he think is in there?
Now, Dr. Williams, I wonder if I can see the space probe.
Let's go.
There's your space probe, Mr. Mills.
Where?
Inside the shark.
Now I have a bone to pick with our director. Why didn't we see Mills's face when he said that? That should have been the best scene of the whole episode.
I tell you, gentlemen, aerospace won't allow this situation to go on, whatever your sentiments.
You can't let them kill the basking shark, Dr. Williams.
The basking shark is the most benign creature in the sea. It harms nobody.
We must have that device at all costs.
Aerospace doesn't run this place, Mills. We can always stick you in the chamber for a while if you get too pushy. He thinks it's absurd and blah, 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 but they're going to remove the probe surgically.
I tell you, aerospace won't buy it.
Then screw them. They don't get to tell a facility dedicated to the preservation of all marine life that they have to kill a creature. They don't have that authority. Still, Paul would get on the phone and basically force Mills to get them permission. If he wants his probe, this is how he's going to get it. After all, the shark has the probe and they have the shark. As they say, possession is 9/10 of the law. That's an old expression that means there's 5 of us and 1 of you. Come take it.
You know, Dr. Williams, I've never operated on a species this large and under these conditions.
Well, then this is a rare opportunity.
Think of the paper you'll publish about it. It'll make you famous. The shark is anesthetized, the water has been sterilized, a pair of divers are pumping water over the shark's gills to keep it oxygenated, and we've used Henry's sound device to locate the probe. All is in place, and do I even need to mention that the surgery is successful?
Well, Mills, all's well that ends well.
The Admiral got the space probe.
And the shark is alive.
I don't know how to thank you people.
You thanked me when you explained to Henry that aerospace had him confused with another Henry Lucas.
Been there, done that. My real name is David Washburn. We lived in a little town called Powell, Wyoming for about 10 years. It's a few miles outside of Cody, which is a town that some people have actually heard of. There was a guy in Cody who did fence work and was into rodeo. Guess what his name was and who got calls for him all the time? More recently, a few years ago, a troll on Twitter found a convicted pedophile named David Washburn and accused me of being him. It got bad enough and abusive enough that I had to report him and he was banned. Needless to say, this was when it was Twitter and not the cesspool. So yeah, I get what Henry was feeling.
I guess we all learned something about computers.
And jumping to computer conclusions.
My computer is vital to what I do here, obviously. It's also vital to my music business. But from the first appearance of commercial computers in the 50s to right now today, we have to remember that a computer is a tool. It's not alive, it doesn't make decisions, and it doesn't invent stuff. All this AI business we've been hearing about, it doesn't create anything. I've often said that I've never had an original thought in my life. My specialty is taking other ideas and putting them together in different ways. AI does the same thing I do. It takes existing things and synthesizes them into something else. That's not creating. That's a computer doing what a computer does, shuffling numbers around in memory. From beginning to end, it's only going to do what a human tells it to do. As Henry can testify, that's the worrisome part.
I learned another thing. There can be ways to get things done without hitting somebody with a harpoon.
When Aerospace heard about that statement, they fired him the next day.
He took something else as well as the probe.
What's that?
A little Sealab philosophy.
Only time will tell if it sticks. This was well done. We had genuine conflict with Mills, genuine peril to Henry, whom we only just met, but instantly came to care about. We had to get super creative with the shark, not to mention the detective work to find the shark. It adds up to an intricate plot and story that are interesting. This is the sort of thing we've been waiting for. Stuff happens. People butt heads. We get to cheer the heroes and boo the narrow-minded nitwit. Give us more like this, please, please, please. It was delightful. And when that shark joins the others at migration time, is he ever going to have a story to tell? The other sharks will be looking at that scar and buying him free drinks for a long time to come. Current current what? Monitor and report. I can do that. To do me a personal favory. Henry, good Lord. Henry. While he languishes, come on, David, you were there. Traveled a little, never mind.